Welcome back, everybody, to the Overwatch League Report. I'm your host, Timur, filling in for Brian again, and I'm joined, as usual, by Ben.
Hey, back from the All-Star break.
We're back, yeah. I'm still hosting. I guess Brian, he's still in Mexico. We really haven't heard much from him. Actually, hold on. He just sent me an email. Hola. I have good news and bad news. The good news is the Tijuana Tigres are off to a great start. Apparently, they have signed 5 Symmetra mains, and there's 4 other players in the running, also Symmetra mains, and D-Comp is coming out of retirement and joining the Tigres. That's amazing. Holy shit. And the bad news is Brian got food poisoning. And then it goes into some unpleasant details about that. But anyways, always great to hear from Brian all the way in Mexico.
Yeah, looks like things are going great. We got looks like the Tigres might be innovating a new meta.
Yeah, full on Symmetra meta. All right, great. Well, before we jump into it, I do want to talk about something that to me is actually a little more interesting than what's happening in Overwatch League, which is what's happening in Contenders, which to me feels like a place where people are trying out these new metas and kind of overcoming GOATs in a way. Ben, I know you've been watching a lot of Contenders. What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I know you mentioned earlier about you implied about the Element Mystic composition, this like Doombra version of GOATs where you swap out the Diva and the Brigitte for a Doomfist and a Sombra, and Element Mystic has seen a lot of success with this kind of hybrid version of GOATs that actually plays DPS heroes. And then we also have, as we're recording this, tomorrow on Thursday, which is also going to be the start of week 2 of Stage 3 for the Overwatch League, we're also going to get the start of the new season of EU Contenders, where we're getting a little team called Clockwork Vendetta, who have made quite the splash, forcing their way through Open Division and Trials, basically with no real competitive experience, no scrims. They just picked up a coach. They're just a bunch of they're like 6 buddies who are like comp heroes who play just whatever hero they are the most comfortable with independently, and they've kind of accidentally put together this comp that is stomping teams that like should be, performing well against what is basically like a cheese comp, like teams like Eternal Academy. And it's going to be very interesting because I know a lot of people don't think that this comp will work in a real league, which apparently Trials doesn't count as. But yeah, we'll see how they do in their first match tomorrow in EU Contenders and going forward for the season, because I know certainly in Overwatch League we're seeing a lot of GOATs still, a lot of GOATs.
Yeah. Well, that's what's interesting to me about this is, I mean, we talk about GOATs as in the team that the meta was named after. That this feels like that again, where someone's coming to the table with something that is just blowing everyone away, and it's coming out of nowhere, and it's really interesting because to me that's what Overwatch is about. You want to play with these different comps, and it's finally, I don't know, I feel like it's gonna become more and more exciting, and hopefully by like the finals this season we'll see more variety in people's comps and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like I'm locked in. I have worst case scenario in my head, which is GOATs last for the entire rest of the season. But like that means that anything besides that is gonna be awesome.
Right.
So yeah, I'm rooting for Clockwork Vendetta because the comp is cheesy, and some people could say it's like maybe a little like cancerous and not super fun to watch or to play against or to like. It's probably not very healthy for the game long term, but it's not GOATs and it's different.
Right.
So at least in the short term, I'm interested to see him do.
Yeah. I mean, all I could say is thank God for Sombra. It's like, yeah. Other thing, uh, other thing
Chico would
that,
have some words with you.
yeah, oh yeah, oh totally. Fucking, well, anyways, I don't know. Seeing Super play during the All Stars, I was like, you're kind of a one trick tank. I don't know. That's just I'm throwing shade at like a pro who's like clearly a million times better than me. But yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about before we get into the matches is we had a bunch of new jerseys this week or this weekend, and some were great, some were not so good. Ben, any stick out to you that were memorable that you would even consider like buying yourself?
I mean, Florida's was nice insofar as that it actually, had a nice design to it and didn't
Mm,
look like a rip off of a fast food chain.
right. Definitely an improvement. Yeah.
Yeah, New York's was also pretty good. Like the skyline design is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other ones that you liked?
Those were definitely the two main ones. There were a few, like even like I kind of like Dallas Fuels, even though it was very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there were a few that were like really bad, like Philly. Like Phillies, they basically just looked like weird referees or like people who work at
Yeah,
what's that shoe
Foot
store,
Locker.
Foot
Yeah,
Locker.
yeah. No, I thought the
um,
same thing.
but anyway, yeah, New York's I thought was my favorite, and I would even consider like getting one, even though I'm not like a complete New York fan, even though I do live in New York. I like Paris. Their jersey was a little bit boring though. Anyway,
Yeah, but what
uh,
wasn't boring about Paris this week was their gameplay, which was significantly improved from the first half of the season.
exactly 2-0. Man,
Yeah,
how
2
did they
0.
do it?
They played bad teams. And
Yeah, I
no,
guess it's just luck.
they actually they're looking a lot better. Like they got lucky. I think in both of their matches they played on Paris, the map, which is ironically one of their best maps, or maybe not ironically,
Yeah, no,
maybe appropriately, it's one of their best maps.
yeah.
And but so that definitely helps that the map pool kind of favored them, and the strength of schedule kind of favored them. But as a team, they're definitely looking a lot better. This version of the lineup is like this exact configuration is slightly different. We have Ben Best back in instead of Cloudy. So I mean, it seems like they finally found the blend of ingredients that actually results in a competent team. We'll see how they can perform going forward for the rest of the stage, though, once they start playing against some of the better teams, because Toronto and Boston right now, not looking great.
Yeah, yeah, and just to add to that, I was disappointed not to see Soon out there, but if that means that they're gonna play better as a full team and if the dynamic works better, then I'm still rooting for them.
Yeah,
So you mentioned Boston. Boston was basically falling apart. There was a few teams this week that really fell apart. Philly as well. And even London against New York. That was like the match of the week, as they were calling it, and it was really just like London getting dominated. And I don't know, this season, Philly and London, who were in the finals last season, not looking so hot.
yeah. I mean, London played well in their match against Boston, but yeah, coming into a match against New York and losing 4-0 after New York is basically coming off of 2.5 losses is not a great look. London has been
Hmm.
kind of experimenting. They just picked up a new main support, Quatermain, who has been
Mm.
performing pretty admirably, and so they've been starting him over Nuss here and there. So I mean, yeah, the matchup against New York wasn't great. A couple of the maps were close, but overall, New York definitely outpaced them. Um, and yeah, obviously, Boston looked really, really, really bad this week. As a
Yeah,
Boston fan, it was not a good feeling.
yeah,
I came into the London match expecting them to lose. It kind of hurt that it was a 4-0, but it wasn't like super, it wasn't unexpected. Like they played poorly in that match, but it wasn't like I didn't come into that match expecting a win, but I did come into the Paris match expecting them to win, and they looked also really, really bad in that match. I don't know what the issue is. I think that the primary issue is wasted ultimates. There were several times in both matches where RCK, especially, and to a lesser extent, fusions with the Earth Shatters isn't that bad because like the Reinhardts and Goats can build Earth Shatters super fast. But we had Alamo in there. Alamo is definitely pulling out late beats. Maybe we'll see it switch back to Kellex in week 2. But yeah, definitely wasted ultimates, bad communication, just overall like not coming into fights with game plans seemingly. So very much an uphill battle for Boston, who are very much on the cusp of that 6-12 play-in bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you also mentioned Philly. You want to talk about? I don't know if you caught their match where they did not play well at all.
Who was that against?
The Philly played. They lost to the Hangzhou Spark, who looked really. Yeah. No, the Spark actually looked really strong. So I think that the main issue right now. I know a lot of people are memeing about like free Fraggy and blaming Philly's losses on Sato, but the issue with the Fusion, I don't think is all on Sato. I think it has to do a lot with the communication between Carpe and Sato. Carpe's role right now on Zarya, I think he's mistiming a lot of his bubble usage. There's not really like a good, like solid, like line of team communication built around that main tank duo with Sato and Carpe. So that's kind of like the core of Goats.
Yeah, and especially if you compare it to a team like Shock, who does that, like, so well.
Right.
And it's,
I mean, with Shock, it helps when you have the best Zarya in the league and one of the best, if not the best, Reinhardts in the league.
yeah, true.
But yeah, obviously their Shock's communication is top notch, and their team overall is like just on a different level.
Yeah.
But I think that Philly's issues right now are kind of comparable to like a less extreme version of a team like Washington Justice's issues, which is just like these minor positioning mistakes, or in Washington's case, major positioning mistakes, that kind of just snowball, and you kind of like just lose track of fights. You die when you shouldn't because you're wasting resources, saving people who are out of position. There was a map, I think last stage, wasn't this week, on Oasis, where Poco is super out of position. He gets like I remember which team that was against, but it's taken advantage of. He takes a ton of damage. The team has to commit resources. They have to commit armor pack to him. They commit the Zarya bubble to him, and then Sato's pushed forward because he's expecting to get backup from his team, but all those resources are burned on Poco.
Right.
Poco survives and is able to pull back, but then Sato dies and they lose the fight. So like those are the type of issues that the Fusion are seeing right now, and those are the same type of issues that the Justice are seeing, where players like Sansam are just like spectacularly out of position, just over and over and over again.
Yeah, definitely. But I do want to talk about a team that's been doing really well, and even, I mean, before this, they were, so let's talk about Atlanta Reign, who, defeated New York 2 times in a row, and now almost beat the Shock, which was awesome. I mean, it was a really great way to start the second half of the season. Was here's this team who went undefeated last stage, and then they lost the first match, and it was a really close game. Atlanta's been killing it.
Yeah, no, I mean, Atlanta is looking great right now. BB has really come into his own on the Zarya role. He's a player who had never really seen any kind of playtime on the hero stage 2, and he comes in after being benched in the Shock. So yeah, he's definitely improved a lot. They've brought in some new talent here and there, but they've had the core that they have, which is the Baby Bay, and they have Dako Pokpo is still there, and they've seemed now, because I believe Kodak, I don't know if he was demoted or if he was just swapped to a two-way contract, but it seems like they are finally all in on Dogman as their starting flex support, and they've stopped doing the whole fried experiment. So it looks like we have a solid lineup that is performing at a high caliber. Obviously, Dako is probably the best player on their team, and it's great they have him back permanently in the lineup.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love Dogman. He's such a fun player to watch, and just like,
this is strange to me, because you love Dogman, but you hate Jane. Dogman and Jane are basically like the same personality.
Yeah, but I don't know. Jane is just like I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, Dogman is also kind of annoying, but something about him I kind of like, that he spices things up sometimes on the stage.
He's like a one trick heckler, right? He's just,
yeah, I guess he just yells
person as a feeder.
yeah, that's true. Well, it's better than, I don't know. It's better than just like sitting there, I guess.
Yeah.
We should talk about the Outlaws as well, who almost defeated New York, which was a surprise. I mean, it's my feeling that New York was just kind of, preparing for their other match, and like didn't focus on the Outlaws at all, and that kind of got swept under their feet a little bit.
I mean, they definitely did not prepare for what the Outlaws brought on Numbani, which is this like super cheesy multi-DPS comp, where they just blew through the first 2 points of Numbani in like 20 seconds flat. And it's like they just, there was no way they were losing that map after that first push, even after swapping to Goats and being stuffed a couple of times. But yeah, even on Goats, the Outlaws are looking a lot stronger. So, I mean, they had some organizational issues. Those organizational issues seem to be resolving themselves a little bit. It seems like they have, again, talking about teams that have kind of found their footing, it seems like they have a lineup that they're actually sticking with now. They're not, moving people in and out. We have Linkser on Zarya, which is definitely a new thing. We've only previously seen Linkser come in when they've run these DPS comps on mostly control maps in the past, so he could play things like Widow and Soldier. So it's fun to see Linkser back in the stage in like a real consistent role in the team.
Yeah, and Ruckus, who I'm also a fan of, and yeah, I feel like they haven't. I don't know. They've just been like. They're a team that no one's like really paying attention to, and this is like, it's good that this is something to give them a little bit more of like something to root for,
Their first match of the week next week is against the Shock, so they're definitely
there you go.
The wall here.
Yeah.
Yeah. They almost they legitimately could have won the series against New York. The 2 out of the 3 maps they lost were very winnable. So. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see against Shock, but I wish them luck, Are they playing any other teams that week?
They're also playing Boston next week.
Okay. So, yeah, there's a good chance.
Yeah, that will certainly be an interesting matchup to watch.
Awesome. Other teams perhaps worth mentioning are Florida. Maybe they're not worth mentioning. I don't know. Florida and Washington. Florida and Washington are still bad. It's like
yeah, even with Florida just made a trade with the Valiant, and they acquired Fate.
Speaking of Valiant, I've mentioned this before. I'm really glad they're playing Kariv, because I really do think he's one of their strongest players, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that really helped get that win over the Hunters.
I know you've been very critical of their decision to start Iziaki in the past.
Yeah, they're both good, but Kareem's amazing. Anyway, they also played Shanghai. I missed that match, but
Yeah, no, Shanghai looked really strong in that match. But I mean, the Valiant are doing a lot better than they're definitely on an upward trend right now, and Shuriken Gods being out of their lineup is definitely an upgrade. Fate has been inconsistent, despite the fact that last season he was probably a top 5 main tank. And now he's being inconsistent on the Florida Mayhem. Something we did not mention on in the Florida Mayhem in their match against Seoul, where they had like the God hold comeback from Seoul, where
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So okay.
They trickled back in and won like a 2v6 consistently trickling back in onto the point.
Yeah.
Florida just like threw away an easy win.
Yeah, that was like one of my favorite moments of this weekend was just the Widow duel that started, and then all these like little tiny fights, and it was just like it was so fun, but it was also like what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I mean, if that map is not just like a metaphor for Florida as a team right now, then I don't even know. Like I was actually flabbergasted. Like I had to like stop and like walk away from the broadcast and like just like take a minute and be like, did that really just happen?
Yeah. That was so fun. Havana is just crazy. I don't know. I've only played it a handful of times, but that first hold feels really hard. I feel like no one has really like cracked it yet of like what you're supposed to do. Or what works best. And clearly Florida has not as well.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those maps where we're seeing some flex over to this like bunker setup with the Orisa Hog setup, with like even this turrets or Bastion behind, if not just snipers. So like it's definitely a map that lends itself to more creative compositions. So we'll see how people evolve the map over the next stage and potentially into stage 4. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's likely to stay in the map pool, I think.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's actually a good way to kind of wrap up this episode is now that we're in the second half, it does look like we're getting less goats, a little bit less goats and more variation. A little bit.
I think that stage 2 had, at the height, stage 2 had less goats than we saw this week. But yeah, there's definitely, there's hope for not goats. I mean, like we talked about the Houston cheese comp, there are a couple of maps that are seeing this bunker setup. Havana is one, and then Paris is another one where we see on point A a pretty. It's not uncommon for teams to run like a Bastion bunker comp to hold at the choke. Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. It feels like teams are still figuring it out, which is part of the fun, I think, about Overwatch and the league. But yeah, I think that's all I have. Anything else for you, Ben?
No, I'm very excited to see what we get in week 2. Even though we're still mostly getting goats mirrors, it's still exciting. It's still Overwatch League. I'm excited to watch Clockwork Vendetta play in EU Contenders. So if you're not into the contender scene, I would highly suggest checking out those matches. So yeah, we'll see.
They're a lot of fun. All right, well, I guess that's all for today. It's Warren Ben signing off. Make sure to subscribe and like the video, as well as follow us on Twitter and Twitch. Even though we're not streaming quite as much on Twitch anymore, mostly on YouTube. But yeah, we have a lot of great content coming up with lots of Let's Plays and stuff like that. A lot more podcasts and long-form content, if that's your kind of thing. We have a lot of stuff coming out, so make sure to
new mini docu-series with Chris building a truck.
Yep.
A house.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
It's very cool. It's very we're gonna see what happens. It's very unpredictable as well. So it should be a lot of fun. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.